nigga one more, makam nigga one five more, makam nigga one ben more, makam nigga one conjio. Akala kamija como binane, akaya kamija como binane, akaya kamni momo como binane, akona jaga fufu, akoni jaga bango, akoni nome norfu. Moga moga yiti dam dam, 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 moga moga yiti dam dam. Cheno ye yemo, oh cheno ye yemo, cheno ye yemo, oh cheno ye yemo. Akani karwengo mombiga we faku, akani karwe fi mombiga we faku, akani gonga chamu acha fobere, akani yikono jijino mo ye yemo, akani fambe famo chino mo ye yemo, moga mo, mangwe moga momo, tiwe kana wanga digimo, tikamni famba fatikara we. Tikam nigga one benti karawe. Moga moga yiti dam dam. 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 Where moga mo? Magambo no tem tikaram bangwe kan ho we shake. Ino na chinga bimbe chepo. So te get him do no ye bang no mina. Dibin, no bin, no bin, no bin, two bin, no bin, no bin, no bin, no bin, two bin. Moga moga yiti dam dam, 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 moga moga yiti dam dam.
Melodious produce.
Fellow Ambazonians, dear countrymen, despite the hike in targeted summary execution of our innocent people by Paul Biya's killer squads, I still believe we are now at the twilight of our political daybreak, emptying the combined worth and wealth of a lifetime fortune into the country of our collective dream.
A place we can surely call home.
At last, my people, the wind of total liberation is sweeping through Ambazonia, our priceless inheritance.
The land of our forebears.
A place we can surely call home.
A few years ago, a vicious dictator declared war on our sovereign nation of Ambazonia. It is a war we did not seek nor provoke, but are determined to muster every strength we can harness and continue sending the message to our enemy that we have risen to call home.
We have paid dues for everything. We pay tax for goods we buy. We pay fuel in our cars. We pay hospital bills, and it used for all other sacrifices.
I can give all I have for the one hope that I have.
Because I hate my CID. I'm actually proudly Amazonian.
Let's get it straight. The freedom of Ambazonia will not depend on the free will of her enemies.
Independence will be but days away if we get it right with our CID.
My dear comrades, I am appealing to every Ambazonian to register with the CID program.
We have no control over our distorted history, but with our CID, we can set the pace and determine the future of Ambazonia.
Yes, the hope for the future is in our hands. As an Ambazonian, my identity is conclusive. My right is guaranteed. My vote will always count as I pay my CID.
As an Amazonian, I will shape the future with my CID.
With your CID of just $10 per month, the interim government is contract to fulfill all that you wish to be done.
Let us build the freedom mentioned from the little blood, which is our CID levy.
There will be food for everyone, hope for every child, justice for every citizen when we pay our CID levy.
Yes, the dream we can realize. With my compulsory independence dues, CID, I have the opportunity to give to the next generation a greater nation, better than we inherited.
Yes, CID program is freedom made easy, freedom made cheap, freedom for Amazonia now.
Don't you hate it when that happens to you? When it does, you need this and this and this. When it happens to me, I always know where to go. When you've got professionals on your side, your problems don't stand a chance. What are you waiting for? Contact them today and let them take care of your problems.
Ungu wami na mikomungele amengama, ungu wami wandinga malingo mobamende, ungu wami wandinga malingo amengama, ndutu ongema ezoli zoli na tene unyana riwo songo mai. Ungu wami wandinga malingo amengama, ungo wami wandinga malingo momenemo, ungo wami na mikomungele amengama, dutu omema ezoli zoli na tene unyana riwo zongo mai. Nadawe tomoziyo mbadawe tomwendiyo nandwendi moze ya male kundi muzo zave tomoziyo bazave tomwendiyo nawendi moze ya male kundi muzo onove ya one wende mai onove ya one wende leo izo waja iwe lindo yondo di bonda yezuki eche nizoli maziwa ikwele chokulende vatu mukunda mona mama eche nizoli maziwa ikwele chokulende vatu Walotin, Nongele Francis Pepe, Nongele Kotobas, Manudi Bango na Mamangea, Nongele Fela, Nongele Wangarana wa Mokumba, Aye, Ngo Eli la Jole, Wenge Koma Paradis. Oh mama, lualini zekete mojoko. We ya rengundu omoliki, we ya rengundu alurea mone mama. Owae wanga moto imbana veli motakela moto unange ondeki mbana nange oka ehunya wale ruku orenje wangi mama ehunya wale ruku orenje benda ndelende orenje benda mama ye wolo womba kweli wota nelite ndelende orenje benda mama wendelende orenje benda ikwele chokule neva manja neva kuwa cholingi koto mamange ikwele chokule neva na fowisa ibizoko unya na unya mekomba mere na umekomba eche mijoli majiva cholingi koto ikwele chokule neva mokona mono mama mama na fowisa mokona mono zekete mojoko.
Don't you hate it when that happens to you? When it does, you need this and this and this. When it happens to me, I always know where to go. When you've got professionals on your side, your problems don't stand a chance. What are you waiting for? Contact them today and let them take care of your problems.
Freedom is coming tomorrow. Get ready, mama, prepare for your freedom. Freedom is coming tomorrow. Get ready, mama, prepare for your freedom. Freedom is coming tomorrow. Yeah, oh, you listen to mama. Yeah, oh, you listen to mama. Yeah, oh, you listen to mama.
Greetings to all of you on Ground Zero, and welcome to the another edition of Ethics for an Emerging Nation. I want to send 21 gun salutes to all the restoration fighters and to tell you to hold on to the fort. Nothing is wrong nowhere. Don't be frightened, and do not actually get freaked out, because the master of this revolution is on course, and we are following his plan. And whatever is happening, he knows about it and knows it just too well. Well, Ethics for an Emerging Nation is a program that comes to you every Friday, 10 p.m. Amba time, for the purpose of beginning to instruct you and teach us, so that as soon as we get back to our land, we will not struggle with most of the things that we had swallowed, which were very wrong. So we are doing a kind of brainwashing. Now listen, when we talk of brainwashing, people just go in the negative form. No, we are getting into brainwashing to clean you up and give you what God had intended that you grew up with, morals. And without said, I would like to call in my panelist and my co-host, who is going to be coordinating with me as we discuss this very important subject matter, ethics for an emerging nation. And I see right there my co-host, Mama Manka. Welcome and God bless you. Can you just say hello to our people before our panelists come in? Over to you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Pastor Commando. Greetings, greetings to Ground Zero, Ground One, the diaspora. Today is another exciting edition for our Ethics for an Emerging Nation. As the Pastor Commando has said, we are bringing you guys and us information to prepare our nation, because we are an ethical nation. It's going to show us, everyone and us, how different we are from the La Republique that we are running away from. Over to you, Pastor.
Thank you very much, Mamanka. You remember that most of the young men and women who are in their 40s downwards might not have had a foretaste of what we had. When you talk of what was in our nation, some of them are wondering, what kind of thing are you talking about? Because we grew up in this mess of La Republique, and everything is like that's how we're molded and made to be. No, thank you very much. We are here to begin to instruct you and take you back to where God had placed us. So while we are waiting for our panelists to come into the studios, I want to say that we greet every one of you once again, especially those of you who are watching us around the globe. This is a program that is not only for the Ambazonian people, but then our major focus is for the Ambazonian people. And because of that, we want to alert you that this is what God actually meant for us to do in the society, to live a life of moral upstanding, moral uprightness. And that's what we are bringing in ethics. Well, I can see here the two panelists, our gentlemen. May I change and call them teachers? Yes, they are our teachers. Mamanka, what do you say before I introduce them? Do you agree with me that they are our teachers?
Our most able teachers, Exactly. We have had very, very good teaching episodes with them. The past 3 or 4 episodes we've had with them, I can assure you, I know I have learned a lot from them, and I hope that you have been learning something from them also.
Yes, and thank you very much, Mama Manka, because these two honorable seasoned teachers are not just teaching theory. They are men of experience. They have experienced what they are teaching, and want to say thank you. We'll go ahead to ask our Dr. Titanta, introduce yourself, greet the people, and we take off from there. Over to
you. Good evening, Pastor, my able uncle man, Pastor Commander, and Uncle Lady Mamanka. Good evening, fellow Ambazonian. Good evening, Barrister. Good evening to everyone around the world that is listening to us. It's a privilege once more again to be on this show tonight. And I count myself really humbled to bring my own little contribution in our nation building. So I will never miss to come up when I'm able to, by the great grace of God, with the strength that God gives us. Bring our little experience that we have had from back home to the countries that have received us, because all these experiences, they are to be used for the betterment of our nation that we want to build. So thank you, and I am really pleased to be in this educational program today.
So I will ask Mamanka to call on our next panelist and let him introduce himself as I hand over to you to call him up.
Our most able barrister, Barrister Mbeseha. Please, can you introduce yourself and let us know what we're going to be talking about today?
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. I'm sure many people have seen me before. Again, we're here on Ghana. We said ethics is the moral compass of the society. So we're here once more to learn some moral compass of our living from the faith where we belong to the office, the highest office of the land that rules us. Thank you again, viewers. We have to learn something. Thank you, moderators, for being here for us. Let everybody go back home with something learned. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Barrister. Thank you, Doctor. I was taught in school that repetition is meant for emphasis. So every day we come in here and say, hey, give us introduction. It is just for emphasis, because there are some of our televiewers that have never seen you guys, and they are like, who are these gentlemen? Then when you introduce yourself, they are at home. They now feel, okay, we now know these are people who are not out to harm us. They are out to educate us, so that when we get to where they are, we shall be having double. And so without any waste of time, I will just go ahead and ask Dr. Titanta to give us a brief summary of what we treated last week. Just give us a brief summary of what we treated last week before we take up to what we have for today.
Yes. Before I go into talking about summarizing what we spoke about last week, I would also like to remind our listeners to what we have been talking about so far.
Right. Okay, Barrister, go ahead. Okay. Sorry.
The foundations of the ethical society must be solid. We must constantly reminding ourselves of the things that we learn. We started by saying that we are trying to build citizenry that will be very responsible. That will become the eye of our society we are building. The eye of the society in the sense when they see any unethical behavior, they must be able to report. So we started by laying out the procedure on putting down a report, a complaint. And we prepared the forms, we worked on, we demonstrated how the forms need to be filled. Then we started talking about we need to first of all educate our people what are unethical behaviors. So last week we spoke about gift. Corruption, we know that corruption usually comes from giving gifts in the wrong way. So the first thing to stem out corruption is to first of all address the notion of gift. And we specified last week that it is very important that superiors discourage receiving gift from their inferiors, because this may be intrude. This may be seen as trying to buy favors. This may be seen as trying to divert the judicious action of the superior. You're maybe trying to buy a position. You're trying to buy favor or to bypass some certain things for him to overlook on any error you committed. So we're trying to discourage that by first of all making people understand that the notion of gift is actually the basis from where corruption builds up. So last week we spoke a lot about gift. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That was a great summary for what happened last week. Now, Barrister, over to you. Can you just add some salt and pepper to what we have been studying? I call it studying because we are actually teaching our people and then also demonstrating by the testimonies that some of us have been given. Over to you, Barrister.
Well, that last we talked about gifts and the different forms of gifts. We reminded people that these things are not only refer to the government officials who are in Boya or who shall be in Boya or who shall be sitting in big towns, Victoria, Bamenda, right back to the village. There are officials that right there, the head teacher of a school, the nurse who runs a health clinic. These are all people that you can influence or who can influence you. So that is why we talked of gifts. And we said gifts could take different forms. They could take form of money, forms of buying goods, buying pigs, buses, and giving to people in position of authority so that they might do you favors. You might not want to do that, but once you start to give that, it gives an impression that you are cutting for some favors from some seniors. Yeah, this favors might include promotion, appointments, or just something like sexual favors. These things are ought to be discouraged in a morally sound society. Thank you.
Wow.
That
All
is
right.
awesome.
That's awesome. Manka,
That is
over to you
awesome.
to
Oh my, I'm listening to you and knowing that you guys have been learning this and that you are now representing it, giving it back to us and to our listeners. And it is exciting to see that if you guys can come back and repeat what we all have gone through for the past how many weeks, I can assure you that I know our people on the ground one, and here in the diaspora are listening. So thank you guys for that recap. It's a beautiful, beautiful recap. But before I give it back to you, Pastor, we have one of our panelists has just joined again. Ma Endele, welcome.
Thank you very much, Mahamanka. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Please introduce yourself, and we are happy to have you amongst us today. Please introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Emma Endeli. I'm director of ABC, and I am not in the, I did not do law, but as a participant of the world, I know what is ethical and what is not ethical, and I know that I want to be a part of the department, the ethics department, to draw up, to come up with a good blueprint for Ambazonia, because if you are a citizen of the world, you know the ethical things to do and the unethical things not to do, and we know the difference between what obtains in La République du Cameroon, and we know that that is not what we want for Ambazonia. So I am actually here as a freelance participant, to give my own experiences, to give my own experiences and to remind our people of some of the unethical issues which are going on now in the world, which are being discussed all over the world. That's it,
Wow.
Mamaka.
That is awesome. Over to you, Commando. Isn't that awesome?
That introduction is mind blowing. That introduction is mind blowing and very, very encouraging. We are extremely glad to have you today here, being an experienced moralist, because there are those who have studied morals in school, in theory, and some have just grown up to study it practically. And so when we meet with theorists, those who have studied it theoretically and those who have just studied it practically, and they come together and we rub our brains, our minds together, it will sink deep into the hearts of our Ambazonian people who happen to have been born. It's not their fault. They didn't choose to be born at that time, but who happen to have been born in a time where the occupiers and imperialists and usurpers had come into our land and grabbed it and then took away our morals and feed into them immorality. And so we are glad to have you, Mama Indele. Welcome. So today, without wasting time, we are going to go ahead and actually talk of a very important situation, which unfortunately is happening right now, even in our struggle, in our revolution. We all remember that this is Ambazonia is a virtual country now for us because we are not on our soil. And whatever we are doing here, we are doing in anticipation of getting back to our land and seeing the same way of living come to life. And so today, we will be talking of misuse of position. Misuse of position. I will allow Barrister Mbese to, is it Beseha?
Beseha. Barrister Beseha.
No, I think he told me last time to just go with the short Barrister Team. I was almost forgetting. So in order not to bite my tongue and to cause some mispronunciation over there, I would like them to call him Barrister Team. So if you want to know, one of your teachers today is Barrister Team, and he will take up the first position and then just tell us what the misuse of position could be. So we are talking about misuse of position. Over to you, Barrister Tim.
Thank you once more. As a lawyer, I'm not here to prosecute you and send you to prison. I'm here to prosecute your mind and educate you on the well-being of society, on the well-being of your family, on the well-being of our future government. When we talk of position, again, let us be reminded, we're not talking about people who come from Buya, the headquarters, to do all that. There are positions right in the village where you are. I'm very sure that almost everybody in Ambazonia has a school located in his or her own village. And this school has a headmaster, they have teachers, they have all those things. So those are position holders, the whole positions, which can be abused right in the village there. For example, it is unethical and really unacceptable for the village school headmaster to get children to go and work in his farm. For the classroom teacher, Madam A or B or C, to get children to crack her egusi during class, during working hours. That is using your position in the wrong way. Can they work in the teacher's farm? Yes. Can they crack the egusi for Madam? Yes. But not at the time of school. They can come to work in your farm on Saturday if they are your friends. But don't force them with your position as a headmaster to do it. Or with your position as a class teacher to carry a egusi that you will grant and send to your brother or your sister who is living in Japan or London or somewhere else. That's the village level. They will progress a little bit higher to the government. The city mayor, the delegate who lives in Bamenda, who lives in Kumba, who lives in a big town, is an office holder. He has an office. That office, for example, may have a car. They may even have a bicycle. Some offices have motorcycles. Don't abuse the use of those things. The car, if there's one, is meant for service. It's not meant for you to use a position, send the car to or whatever thing to go and carry firewood for your girlfriend or for your brother or for your cousin. That is usually for somebody who is attached to you as a friend or as a relative. That is equally wrong. And then the chain goes up to the biggest people you could imagine, a government minister sitting in Buya. You have more facilities to use in that position. The temptation is to to ruin what that office with their use of position. Once you're in Boya, the office in Boya, for example, recruits people, employ people. So what does that mean? Don't use your position to employ your girlfriend or your boyfriend. Don't use your position to employ your friend's child or daughter or son. Don't use your position to give your own son or your own job, your own daughter a job. It does not mean that they cannot get a job in your ministry, no. But let them be qualified. Let them compete with any other person. To be fair, otherwise, you do these things, people see it. People are watching them. They say, oh, that officer, that is, Monsieur's sisters are working there, his brothers, his own children are working there. No, that is unethical. That is use of your position to help you or to help someone affiliated to you or someone connected to you which is unrelated to work. If you are in Boya, for example, or in Bamenda, you have a big prison there where we have prison administrators. Let the prison administrators not abuse the office, for example, by getting prisoners to go and build their houses in town. That is an abuse of office. The prisoners are not your personal employees. If you must get them to work in your farm or to work in your house, I think there are regulations there. You pay for them. Under the production prisons, there's a way for you to get them there. Go there officially, and they tell you a worker is 500 francs a day. You pay, you give me a receipt, they are assigned to you, and then they work and go back. So once we understand this, I think we will be able to know what we are doing from the village level up to the national capital. If that were not allowed, of course, whoever shall be the president or the prime minister will sit there and recruit everybody in the police force to be his brother or sister, or to be his cousin or his girlfriend's or boyfriend's children. And at the end of the day, we'll end up getting a family government, not the national government. So those are the issues that we have to avoid with positions. Again, the issue is position. And I emphasize again, position is not only dealing with somebody sitting in an office in Boya, a four-story building with air conditions. No. It does not deal only with somebody sitting there who is driving a Mercedes car given by the state. No. Somebody in the village, again, riding a bicycle as a village headmaster is in a position of authority. A madam in the village teaching in a primary school is an authority in that capacity. If we respect all this, we shall have come out a better nation than we are presently in East Cameroon. Thank you.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Mama.
Okay.
Yes, please.
So, Barrister, I'm coming back to you again with last week, 2 weeks ago, we saw that video on how corruption destroys the economy of a nation. Would you think that using position and hiring all these people who may not be productive at all, do you think they can affect the productivity of an office, a school, like all those? I love those examples that you are giving. They're very, very, very applicable. Can you speak on that, please?
Oh, yes. First and foremost, why is there corruption? Why are you trying to corrupt? It is because you are not qualified for the position. That's why you are trying to buy it indirectly. If you are qualified, you will not be corrupting. So, corruption destroys the community because it brings people who are not qualified to positions that they want to own, to performance where they don't have the ability to perform. So, corruption by itself kills the society. Again, I've said, it doesn't mean that if you are in an office and your brother is a contractor or your sister is a contractor, if you qualify, he or she or the company qualifies to be a contracting company, they will gain the job, provided that they will have to go through the same procedure. There will be inspection at the end of the day to be sure the job is well performed. The bottom line I've said is, why is there corruption? Corruption is because you're not competent to get the job. You're not competent to do what is wanted. That's why you go through the back door. Like Achido will say, may sorrows in peace. Scratch my back, I scratch your own. That doesn't work. Because if I didn't scratch
What
your back,
about,
I will not do anything.
sorry, let me, I don't want to enter. What about title? Somebody shows up with a badge. He's a police officer and he flashes a badge, and then it affects, is that use of a title also? Could you consider that use of a position? Using his title as
Oh, yes.
position?
Yes. I can give you an example. There was a magistrate in Boya. He's not dead. And in those days, even till today, when they come, they line up to get things. People had lined up for a service. The magistrate came late. I was behind. And the service giver saw him and said, look, ask his messenger to go and bring that magistrate. They went and brought him to be served first from the back of the line. And this man was a very violent man. After being served, he gave the serving officer a slap. And said, you're serving me now because I'm a magistrate. So one of these people who stood in front of me.
I didn't know
Not be served. Yeah, so because they are smaller, because he recognized my face, I mean, at the time, it was a small place. That magistrate was called Magistrate Dopping. Most of us know him. He said, look, therefore, because you recognize my face at the back, I'm to be served first. That is unethical. Take it back even to a normal thing. You go to a party, people are standing on the line and eating. The food is not even enough. Some big man is behind there, he came late. He's at the tail of the line. He has to be served. And he served with the best dish. By the time that they get to the 20th, 30th, 40th%, the food is finished. That is unethical. It is lining up, line up. Take your turn, be served at the appropriate time. If the food gets finished before it gets to you, so be it. Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much. Commando, back to you. Thank you so much, Barrister.
All right. So without further ado, we'll go straight to Barrister. Barrister, you have talked so much that we are trying to heap more questions on you. Let's go to Dr. Titanta. Dr. Titanta, can you just tell us what your position could be, spicing what the barrister has already said and then bringing out the well of knowledge that is embedded in you? Over to you.
Yeah. I was really, I had to be taken aback listening to the great examples that Barrister was presenting, because he has deep experience with the system, especially in La République du Cameroon. I would go to talk about the notion of government property. This is something that people can use because they are the people have the title. They've been given authority. They'll be given also things to work with, instruments to work with. They've been given offices to work with. They have given cars to work with. They have given farms to work with. They have given people under their control. So misuse of authority could also be led to misuse of government property. And by government property here, there are a lot of things that are involved in government property. You have cars, you have buildings, you have offices, you have office materials, you have roads, you have land, government farms. So these are things that they belong to the state. They don't belong to the employee of the state. You as an employee, you are just a caretaker of these things. And the fact that government has given you authority over those things means that you have a high responsibility over those things. Responsibility to protect those things, the responsibility to conserve them, the responsibility to make sure that those things are not damaged, the responsibility to make sure that those things are handed over to the next generation in good shape, to avoid waste, to avoid unnecessary waste. So these are things that positions should be used to take good care of public property. It's not because government has given you a house that you think that house belongs to you. You can use it any way you want. It's not because government has given you a car that you think that you can use that car to do your private business. You can use that car to transport your family. You can use that car to give it to your friends to go and carry their goods from the farm. No, This is not correct. It's not because you have got an office that you think that the printing machine, the office now you can use to print your private things, print your books, print your whatever, print your your children's school materials. No, these are wrong. These are unethical behaviors. So if we have responsible people in position to control these things, we will avoid unnecessary waste for our society. We will avoid inefficiency in our society. Because when we think of, for example, La Republic, where we're coming from, we see people using government cars during electoral campaigns. That's wrong. We should never encourage that in our country we want to build. We see people using cars during work time to go and give it to people to go and do some clando, as they call it. No, these are things we need to. We see government workers using private car going to carry their girlfriends around. These are absolutely unethical behaviors. And we are actually, all these things we're trying to make sure that we have citizens that are observant. When they see these kind of things taking place, they should quickly report to the ethical commission. And that's why we're asking that ethical commission be set up at every rungs of our society, right from the village, as Barrister clearly said, right from the village, right through the local government areas, through the counties, through the national, so that people at every level should be able to report this behavior. Before they can report, they should know which behaviors are unethical. So these are important things. We should continue to emphasize on them. And people get this thing into themselves to be able to recognize what is unethical, what is ethical.
Dr. Titanta?
Okay, all right. Yes, all right. I just wanted to say, I just wanted to say that, I just wanted to say that, hey, Mamanka is here, and she will dig out some questions that will further educate our people. I will further make our teachers to give a further explanation of what we are talking about, and you were just picking up when I was about to call you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Commando. I was actually listening to him and nodding my head and picking up very, very good information that he is providing, and I'm loving our panelists today. So, Doctor, let me ask you this question. You have talked mostly about physical things that we can see. Would you say that use of information, privileged information that you gained as your position, can you say something about that?
Yes, this is a very important point, because once you have been given place of authority, there will be some classified information that you will know. You will be very, very much aware of. And you are not supposed to use those classified information to favor you to foster your business agenda or the business agenda of your friends. Let me give, for example, that you are involved in a decision that will involve some stock market that will have in an Amazon stock market. That you're involved in, so you know the regulation that you are setting up in place. You may be aware of the regulation, and then you use that to go and maybe inform your friends on, oh, there's going to be, for them, the CDC will be put on a special market, and something will come up, so that will probably cause the prices of commodities being offered by the CDC to drop. So you should probably know these are things we should discourage. We should discourage people from using government on public information that are not meant for the public yet, to use it for private or to foster some benefit of friends or family or whatever. No, these are highly forbidden. They are strictly forbidden.
Wow.
That is all.
Awesome.
I am in awe. I am in awe. Back to you, Commando.
Right.
Commando.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. You know, sometimes when I'm listening to these seasoned men and the woman of God who have come in here today from Ambazonia, I just begin to wonder, I mean, the kind of creatures that God specially made and kept at that Gulf of Guinea, at that that Gulf, so intelligent, but then we are having a little bit of distortion here and there. And when we get back to where God had originally planted us with this teaching that we are receiving here and this instruction from these men that I'm sure that most of them, if not, all of them, they must have, let me not say they must have. Yeah, let me say they must have. They had grown up in the Amba zone, the West Cameroon, the West Cameroon, the Southern Cameroons that had this moral rectitude for people to live in. When you just look at them and you hear the way they are talking, they went to schools where they upheld the word of God to be the moral textbook. And so many of them, with that moral teaching till tomorrow, are fighting and swimming through the current of immorality that is almost sweeping the whole generation, the whole world today. But as we had come from God, He will take us back, and our teachers will continue to teach us that our children will pick it up, and by the time we get back home, it shall be different. Now I cross over to you, our experienced teacher that has come into the house with virtues that are worth emulating because of experience. I don't know, do you all agree with me? They told me that experience is the best teacher, and I think that, all right, good, okay, mama guy, when you come into to concord with me, I see two have agreed, and where 2 or 3 agree together, it is established. All right, over to you, Mama Endele, to tell us misuse of position from the way you have grown up to see right back in our country as the teacher, and where you are right now, because they are still trying to practice that in some of those places. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Pastor Commando. I am really I'm really excited by the discussion that we are having here. It is really, really interesting and very, 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 very educative. When I think of misuse of position, of position in power, my mind it blows my mind, because it's like, it is the actual fabric of every society. When I say that, I will start from the home. We all know that ethics education starts from the home. It is the mother and the father who first of all tells this child, this thing you are doing is wrong. This is what is right. You should not do it this way. You should do it the other way. So that is the basic. If you see children from homes that are well disciplined, you will know. Nobody will have to tell you. And these ethical principles stay with the children for the rest of their lives. Now, back to our country and the real world. There's no way we can try to change our ethical outlook in Amazonia without saying that from the top all the way to the bottom, ethics, the rule of ethics has to apply. Now, for example, the things that President Biya does that we know are wrong, are unethical. He should not get away with them only because he's the president. That's his misuse of his power. And he, let me tell you something. Here where there is civilization, usually, if a member of a company misbehaves, the top management takes responsibility, and sometimes they have to resign because of that act. And even though they did not act, they were not the perpetrators of the act, they are in that position of responsibility, and they have to be held accountable for everything that their staff does. So you see, it has to be a trickle down ethics mentality. our whole outlook has to change. We have a big job to do. Seriously, it doesn't mean that I'm not saying that there isn't corruption or unethical activities going on in the rest of the world. No, we should be able to be responsible and point these things out and call these things out. That is the only way we can revise our society and put us in the right mindset. You know, for example, a gendarme stops people on the road and is asking for particulars, as they call it, but he has no right to do that. What is wrong with the Department of Motor Vehicles? They should be checking whether your license is in order or not. You know, the gendarme is put there just to extort money from you and to maybe sometimes shoot you like baby Carolise. You know, and why should the government encourage that? You know, you know, that is that that's the way I look at it. The misuse of position is in every part of the fabric of our society, and it starts all the way from the home, from the house. If a father uses his position to harass or punish the children, you know, too much in excess, you know, because you know, sometimes people beat their children until they kill the children. Maybe they did not plan, but you see, that is again misuse, and that is the one person who is supposed to protect you in this life is the person who takes your life. So everything that you do, you have to think of ethics. You know, misuse of position is rampant. It is just in every part of our lives. And you know, it is something that we will have to work with, because it cuts through every part of society. You know, you cannot say that it is only in government, or it just goes all the way down. Now, for example, if say a company advertises for a job, and the president of that job decides to put only their own relatives, what happens to the rest of the people? What happens to the rest of the population who are even more qualified? They are affected. You know, nobody is thinking about them, their own lives. They are part of the country. They are part of this society. They are part of the system. Don't you think they have to be treated fairly? They have to be given a fair chance? You know, so it's going to take a lot, you know, to change our mindset. But I just see that there's misuse of position in every fabric of our lives, and that is what we should fight against, because that is the modus operandi of La Republique, and I don't see them changing anytime soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Pastor Commando, that's another awesome presentation. I can audio.
Oh yeah, sorry. It was. I mean, it's fantacocastic. That's my grammar. You know? That's Fanta and Coca-Cola mixed together.
So I can drink some right now.
Thank you very much. Mamanka, if you can just give me a minute or two, just go ahead and make a few comments before you can come in. If you permit me, I'll just do that very fast. Yeah,
absolutely.
She mentioned some very, very pertinent things there that I now see that, you know, in most governments, especially in democratic governments, power is given to the grassroots, so that the grassroots now come up and give the power to the president to stand for them. But in this moral aspect, power starts from, the morality starts from up and goes right down there to the grassroots. That's why when she mentions that this moral education starts from the house, I was so excited. I was so excited. And then she mentioned something about child punishment. I think that it should be child discipline. It should be child discipline, not punishment. But when you punish a child, like what most of the countries of the world are doing, although it's a business and it's a shady business, that when I was growing up, I said this some time ago on this podium, that when I was growing up, there used to be a reformatory center in Boya. Reformatory center. That means if you are a criminal, or you are behaving wayward, and you are behaving immorally, and they catch you up, either the police picks you up and they take you to the reformatory center. When you graduate from there, you are not coming out to be a double or triple criminal to the society. You are coming out there, either you are a tailor, or you are a carpenter, or you are a builder, or you are coming out there saying that was how it was. That was a form of discipline to make them recall why they are here and come out and behave morally in the society. But today, our prisons are actually punishment centers, because when they go inside there, some of them go in there, they come out, they have learned how to smoke banga. Some of them have come out, they have learned how to steal. They have got all other tricks from other people how to steal, and so on and so forth. I just wish that with what our teachers are teaching the Ambazonians and the Ambazonians who are listening, and the government of Ambazonia, that when we get back home, because we are still on virtual now, when we get back home and be able to establish these institutions in different counties and LGS, as Barrister Tim has always been quoting, we will be able to have such centers where people will be disciplined, not punished. Over to you, Mamanka. Thank you.
Commando, they used to call that the Bostal Institute.
Bostal Institute, yes.
Bostal Institute.
Yes.
Institute, right. Yes. Yes.
When people came back, they had trades. They could do things. They were reformed. They had jobs. They could make jobs for themselves. They improved on their families. They had jobs for themselves. That was the day. So on that, I want to, who can remember 1992, when the criminal Paul Biya took office, when a morale was so high, we were all expecting 1982. I'm sorry, 1982. I'm sorry, 92. We were all, morale was so high in the country. We were all expecting and anticipating things to be so good. And then look at where we are today. Look at where we are today. So it starts from the top, like Pastor Commando has said. It starts from the top and trickles down. And now it is the moral fabric of our society, including us who were dragged into this. Including us who were dragged into this.
Yeah, everybody was shouting morality, rigor, and moralization.
Thank you. You remember.
Rigor,
thank you. You remember.
Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Titanta.
Yep.
I'm going to. I'm thinking about. What about time? What would you say about time for? Are we running out of time?
No.
Yeah, I think
not yet. I don't think so.
We are going
How much
one
time
round
do we have?
now. Okay. Actually, let's go a little bit, because I will have to define what time we should be stopping. But then 1 hour for us would be enough. But because we have a number of panelists and we need to continue to repeat and educate these people, let's go a little bit further. Let's take 15 more minutes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. The question I have is, would you consider misuse of time? How would you say, can you say something about that, please? Misuse of government time. Yeah.
Sure. But before I go talking about misuse, I really appreciate what Ma Endele was putting up, the idea of that when people, we allow unethical behaviors it affects the national health in many ways. It affects the entire country. It does not only affect the people that are concerned, it affects everybody in the country. Let me give an example. And when I just completed high school in the late 1980s, I came out with a GCA level four papers in sciences, mathematics, physics, chemistry, further mathematics. So I found myself in Guayaquil, which is dominantly the university. They were teaching in dominant French. And then I had a cousin who was working with the American embassy, and he came home and told me, oh, American embassy want to recruit Cameroonians and take them to America for military training, the Marine. And they're looking for people with good English background, people with physical science background, mathematics, physics, and they said, you are the ideal candidate for this. So I was so excited for this. So we all went to the American embassy, bunch of us, with Anglophones and Francophones, everybody, we were there. So we compiled our dossiers. We went through the first interview by the American consulate there, and we passed the first level. We were excited to go to America and come back like Marines, that Cameroon will profit from this Marines that are trained by America. But toward the second phase of the whole thing, one day we were at the ministry and at the embassy, and the general just came from Ministry of Defense and asked the authority, the American authority was in charge, and said, hand over the whole document to us. We continue the process at the Ministry of Defense. And this American guy just handed everything to this general. And from that moment, I knew that we could never make it. So they bundled a bunch of, I think like 60 Francophones and sent to America. They could not speak French, the English. They didn't have any, the background was not what the Americans were looking for. They bundled them back to the country. Who are the losers? Who are the losers? This is the kind of thing that when we use our position of authority, we are not only disadvantaging those that are directly being affected, the whole nation suffers.
Yeah.
Now, coming back to the use of time, it is very important. If work starts at 8:30 and ends at 5:30, government employers are expected to be effectively at work, not just sitting there and going on their social media and doing or making unnecessary phone calls. They are supposed to be judiciously using the time allocated for that job to do their work. Let me give another example. When I came to Belgium to do my PhD, I was in my office, started doing my PhD for physics, and this Cameroon guy who was also studying in the same university, he came to my office at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And he was sitting there, I was on my computer doing my work. He said, John, what are you doing? Let's go and get a beer. I said, my friend, what time is it? The work finishes at 5 o'clock. He said, is it your papa's farm? I was like, this is not right. We cannot bring this our own way, our Cameroonian mentality into even the white people kind of. So these are kind of things we should really discourage. So we should discourage people. We should make sure when people are at work, they come at work to work at the time that is supposed to be at work. They don't leave the office before the time elapses. While they are at work, they must be effectively doing work. They cannot use that time to do their private business, like maybe you're working on your, I don't know, writing a book, your own book, or using that time to develop your business. No. Using that time to do anything that is unauthorized, it is not allowed. You cannot use that time because you have a position of authority in that department that you ask your subordinate, somebody who is below you, to do something that would be in your own favor instead for the purpose of the state. No, these are not allowed. Every person, we should not allow these kind of practices to be condoned in our society. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. Ambazonia is going to have 8 hours of work and not 8 hours at work, because there's a difference between 8 hours at work and 8 hours at work. All right. Reminder, you want to say something?
Mamanka, I just have a little something to add to what Dr. Tatianta has said.
Go ahead.
Yes, if you don't mind. You know, my dad worked in Yaoundé when I was growing up. And he was one of the postal directors in the post office, and he was brought in from Cameroon, first of all from Nigeria, and then southwest to run and start the post office in Yaoundé. You know, one of the things that the workers there, the French workers there, noticed was that when my father goes home for break at I think at 12 o'clock, he always returns back to work. You know, meanwhile, the other workers, most of them never returned. They went home, they just ate their baguettes, the bread, and they drank the wine and they slept off. That, you know, people were working only like 4 to 5 hours a day, and then call it a day. You see, so we go back to the head of that department. If the head of the department does not come on time, how would he see whether the others are coming to work? You see, it goes back to the person running that government. It's you at the top. If you show example and you hold your workers responsible, everybody will keep to time.
Wow, wow, wow! I wish we cross over very shortly. Yes, Barrister Tim, you have been gathering, and I know that your input and you know you have gathered all that we have been trying to say. We would expect that if you wouldn't mind, you give us in a summary form, and then when that is done, we also need your concluding statement, because this is the last lap we are taking before we conclude. Let's go ahead. Oh yes, or rather, just say what you are saying. Then we'll go around and then we'll come back for one minute of conclusion. All right.
All right. Thank you, sir. What I have to say right now, I would go through what our other panelists have just said. Let me start with positions. There was something which I did not emphasize. Endorsement. Endorsing a product. When you hear the word endorsement, you might never find it in Cameroon. There's nothing like endorsement there. But I can give you an example to illustrate. We have something in Cameroon we call the National Book List. All books to be used in primary school, in secondary schools are approved in Yaoundé. If you happen to have your brother was the director or the minister of higher education, primary education, and you written a pamphlet, and that guy endorses it, they call it in the country talk, government don't approve him. Minister don't talk about it. That's why they ask you the question. That's unethical. You don't approve books from your brothers and sisters, because once you approve, the thing is going to go to the market. The guy is going to get the money nationwide. So don't endorse books. That's an example of endorsement. Then I go to the other side where my co-panelist said, insider knowledge, gaining more knowledge from where you are. We don't have a stock market in Cameroon. As of now, we don't have one in Ambazonia. But there are areas where you get inside information and abuse it. I illustrate it again. I'm sure most of us, or many of us, have at least said something called Toleti. The CDC had Toleti, and they had do tea. These were tea estates that brought a lot of money. We don't even drink tea in Cameroon. That thing was not in Cameroon because we don't even know the use of it. It was sold to China, to different parts of the world, for so much money. For many, many years, Johnny Bangu was the general manager of the CDC. And so he knew what every estate could bring in. He had insider knowledge of what these properties could bring. So when they decided to privatize or to give out the tea estates, Nibangu was no longer the chairman, the manager of the CDC, and moved to Sokapam. Moshonga replaced him. But like anything in Cameroon, they will not give it to anybody. They had to give it to CPDM, insiders. And before they sold the tea to him, they said, look, for 6 months, they will not export tea. And then they turned around and gave the tea estate, particularly the tea on, to a certain Dampulu, who is still alive.
Yes.
Dampulu is still alive.
Yes.
They gave it to him. So take, for nothing, for almost a franc. And when Dampulu took it for a franc, he opened the warehouse where the tea had been kept for 6 months and made a fortune out of it. Shipping it to China everywhere where they drink tea. But what is the problem now? Johnny Bangu said, look, you have made so much money. Bring my own share. And Dampulu said, no, but what was your own contribution? He said, I gave you the value. I knew the value. I told you to get it because I knew the value of the tea that was in stock. If Dampolo refused to give him any money, they argue and argue until they went to court anyway. That's the bottom line. Johnny Bangu, using his position as general manager, knowing the value of Toleti and handing it over to Dampolo to make billions out of it. That's insider knowledge being used. He got the knowledge as general manager of the CDC. He marketed it to his friend. It doesn't matter whether he didn't pay him back or not. But at the end of the day, Dampolo made the profit as his friend because not everybody could go and get that Toleti. Everything today is history. So that is what I can add to what my two other panelists have just said. Again, don't endorse. Again, inside and out, I said, we don't have a stock market in Ghana. We might never have one for many years to come because there's supposed to be one in the wallet that never functioned.
I want to interject here by saying that when we are talking anything about ethics, particularly morality, if we mention the name of La République du Cameroon, we should actually mention them for the negative because they have taught us every vice that is contrary to morality, in time, in people, in position, and everything. In fact, their examples should be for negative. And then when we come, unfortunately, many young Ambazonians did not see West Cameroon. They did not see our southern. They did not. Some of them. I just had a figment of it, and I saw part of it when Ahijo was planning and coming into with his coup, silent coup to take over our people. I saw the tip of the iceberg of southern Cameroons, and from my parents, I saw the moral upbringing, like Ma Endele was talking. So some of us, when we are talking like this, and we mention what happened in our land, many of our young men, they are like, we grew up in this demonic, wicked nation, and so what are you guys talking about? But we will continue to talk because history is now written. In those days, it was laid down verbally. A father will sit down and tell us Arabian Night entertainment stories and so on and so forth. All right, over to you, Dr. Ma Endele. Share with us your concluding statements. And in fact, we want to have you because there is a well of something inside you. We want to have you back on our program.
Yes.
So share something with us.
Thank you, Dr. Commando. The topic has been so interesting. It's as if we should not go away. But the timing is perfect because I have to go to work in a few minutes' time. The only conclusion I'm going to say is that I'm so happy that this ethics because we need to come up with a blueprint. We need to come up with a blueprint for Ambazonia. And as I said, it's going to take a lot of work, but I think that Ambazonians are very, very smart people. We know that we are going to be able to come up with a blueprint which will be followed by the country. Another thing is which I want to add here is that in choosing our leaders, we have to be very, very aware of the ethical character of whoever we are going to put into leadership. It is very, very important because that is what is going to change the tone of Ambazonia. That is where it begins, because it's a long road, but we cannot despair, and we need to go back to a lot of the things the way they were. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much, Ma. It is so interesting. I think this ethics for leadership before they are appointed to position, we are coming to that particular topic, and we are going to pray that Ambazonian smartness and the people who are smart will be able to fish out the hypocrites amongst us, because the La République blood is still flowing in some. Especially many of the young men, many of them, They have learned everything, the tricks of La Republique, the games of La Republique. In fact, La Republique can come in here and see all of us here now and change us to be Chinese. And then everybody will believe that we are no more Amazonians, we are Chinese, because they are very good at fraud and anything that is not real. All right, Dr. Dr. Titanta, over to you, your last words. Sorry, Ma, you would have said something before.
No.
Okay,
all right. No. Let he's yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. I would appeal to all Ambazonians, as the Bible says, "Be ye not hearers, but doers of the word." As we all are hearing these things, let us try to be putting them in practice.
Yeah.
We will want to have Ambazonia being led by people of more high moral standing. Want to be led by people who are very responsible. Mandela spoke about responsible citizens. That when you are in a place of authority, you have given from position, and that position may come with some government property to take care of. You must take care of those property as if they were yours. The Bible said, do your service unto man as doing unto God. I would say, do your service unto Ambazonia as if you are doing it unto God. If you have been given any property to handle, you take care of it. We remember a country called, I think it is Tanzania. The president that just died, he came to power just within a short time, highly ethical man, and changed the nation. We have heard about the story. He went to hospitals where he was seeing sick people lying on the floor, with beds were broken, scanning machines have been broken down, and those hospitals are supposed to have technical department to be taking care of those materials, but they were not doing their duty. There were people in position of authority who were not doing their duty to be responsible to protect and conserve the government properties that have been handed to them. We want a country made of responsible leaders. Thank you all.
Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Before we call Barrister Tim to give us his concluding word in a minute, and Mamanka will be rounding up for us before we go, I just want to say that in this contemporary society in which we are living, especially those of us who came out from La Republique du Cameroon, when you stand to implement the constitution, they call you names. You are being intimidated, because what is presently going on in the interim government now is because our president, Dr. Sako, has stood to make sure that before any department, any governmental department takes any decision or action, they must abide by the constitution. And when people want to do things out of the constitution, all allegations and every other defamation and blackmail is coming in. But we need people like him who will show morally and then stand very firm that whatever is happening, we must implement our constitution, whether you like it or not. Those are the kind of things, and that's what this office is actually teaching the Ambazonian people. Ambazonian people, listen. We are preparing ourselves. We don't want to sit down here and then come and start preparing back at home. We are already preparing you. We may, when we come down there, we may be papas, because we are not going to be ancestors sitting on the throne. No, ancestors are not going to rule Ambazonia. It's only La Republique that ancestors are ruling La Republique. But in Ambazonia, we need you, the young men, to come and exhibit and teach, and then show by example whatever you are practicing. Thank you very much. Over to you, Barrister. We are concluding.
Yeah, thank you. I want to say that in closing, that we are dealing with ethics with individuals, but at the end of the day, we are training future leaders for Ambazonia.
Right.
Future ethics means recognizing history as it is, as it was. History is the past.
Of course. Yeah.
If I ask a question here, we have been singing of Fancha, Ndele, Muna, and so on. Where do you find the relics in Cameroon today? I live in Boya for the past 30 years. I've not seen any street in Boya called Ndele Street. What do you have in Boya? Ceremonial place they call Bongo Square. What is this Bongo? Bongo is President Omar Bongo of Gabon, who came to Yaoundé and Ahidjo brought him to Boya. He has a whole square name for him there. There's nothing for Ndele. You go to Mamfe, I've not seen any street in Mamfe called Samson George Street. I saw a statue of Fancha being dragged in the street of Douala. What is left of Fancha other than his empty house in Bafut, in Nkwen? Absolutely nothing. What we have left as our own relics of history are the fans who went through history, who took part in all this in the front of Bafut, the front of Bali. But they are not there because they liked it. It is because those institutions, the palaces where they died, had cultural preservation. So we are going to bring an Ambazonia that will recognize our own history, good or bad.
Our heritage.
Put our own status there. This is the statue of Fancha. This is the statue of Ndele. This is what these guys did, good or bad. They are part of our history. And it is ethically wrong. I watch a lot of this nonsense in Cameroon there. When they talk about their heroes on Equinox, nobody ever mentions anybody from Ambazonia. Means we never had our own heroes? Nothing. The Fanchas were nobody. The Ndeles were nobody. Were nobody. So for us to build a sound society, it should be ethically built. Ethical means recognizing what went before you and then improving on it for eternity. We don't have, like the United States says, presidential libraries. Presidential libraries are not the property of the president. They are part of the history of the country. There's a whole committee that manages presidential libraries. Clinton's presidential library, George Bush presidential library, they don't belong to them. They belong to the state. And so they replicate what they did as leaders in the United States history. That is what our leaders, future leaders, will recommend to them. By the time they get to Boya, apparently most of us would have died. But this lesson, if it is documented, would not have been effaced. So, ladies and gentlemen, young and old, let us preserve our own history as part of our own ethical upbringing. If we did not do that, if we didn't even have the documents from the United Nations, nobody will talk about Fancha or Ndele.
Amen.
Wow.
If you go to Bamanda, if you go to Boya, you're not going to find a big building sign there called Ndele's, call it even a council hall named after Ndele, even a small space. But we have a place that they call Mountain Club, where they go and drink beer every day. One of them call it Ndele's Club. So people can remember that name.
That name, I'm telling you.
So it is unethical to wipe away our own history. It is ethical to preserve our own history for the future. Those of us who are old enough to have seen 1960, we're lucky. The ones who were in 1950s are no longer there.
No.
So you and me are going, if we're leaving nothing, what have we left? Again, as Madam said, people use that time, government time, for their own purposes. The reason is that there's no work for them. Find people in Cameroon Republic going on strike to be recruited to the public service. What do they want the public service when there's no work there?
Yeah.
If you go and say now and there's no work for you to do, you will sleep. You will be tempted to not even come, and nobody will question you because you are not recruited, you are not employed to work. You are employed to earn a salary, which is part of the government's form of solving unemployment problem. No. Look at our interim government as it is now. We have only 7 ministries, just 7 departments. If we were in a rare country, those 7 departments will have more than enough work to work there. So don't create unnecessary ministries, purport to employ people without any job description, without any job for them to do. What is the sense of having Minister of Technical Education, Minister of Secondary Education, Minister of Primary Education, Minister of Higher Education? What are all these people doing? Each with the director, with several cars to run into it. So again, the lesson we learn from this Amazonia, especially the younger generation, as you grow and take over the reins of power wherever they are into a future Amazonia, have this in your head. That is the thing that will save us. That is the thing that will save Ambazonia for the future. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Okay, over to Omanka. Give us your closing remarks as the host.
What a very, very spirited and interesting conversation. Thank you, the panelists, Ma Endele, the barrister, and Dr. We appreciate you guys. We are going to, I want you all to know that every topic we have discussed, it's developed with examples that all the panelists include for future consumption. Just like Ma Endele said, all the information is being developed so that in the future, Ambazonia, we will not be recreating. Thank you. Pastor Commando, up to you.
Oh, you were saying concluding words. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, televiewers, especially on the Ambazonian soil, we believe that this class has been very, very helpful and useful to you. Please don't forget, tune in next Friday, 10 p.m. Amba time to have an exciting, not only exciting, but an educative session that will never leave you go through what some of us, because of La Republic, have gone through. Now, it is liberation when you live a life that is morally upright for your people. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Catch you up next
Thank you.
Thank you. Next week.
Night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
The Amba War Draft Award 22 is here. People, it's time to win again.
This is the time for us to draft until we draft. That must be our slogan and rallying cry now. And along the way, we should be asking ourselves some critical questions.
Are we still enjoying 3 square meals a day? While our boys on the ground lack the basic gear they need to resist the occupiers?
Are we still living a life of luxury and comfort? While our brave restoration forces lack medical supplies at the home front?
Are we still throwing big birthday bashes while our restoration forces lack basic communication equipment to maximize their efforts?
Are we still going on cruises and expensive vacations while our IDFs on the ground go without food and logistics?
Are we still finding excuses not to make the necessary sacrifices and drafting big while our restoration forces lack the game-changing equipment that they so desperately need to bleed the enemy?
On a daily basis, how much are we putting aside for our liberation, knowing that only through the fierce resistance are we going to liberate our beloved country?
Are we providing the federal government and the CIC the means to carry out some of the critical, intelligence and other special operations across the national territory?
As we ponder these questions, we must remember that a goal that is not funded is nothing but a wish. And we must not let Amazonia die as a wish, because we failed to fulfill our patriotic duties by making the great sacrifices befitting a great people.
The war draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices. We are enough, so let's draft, draft, and draft until we drop. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It is Award 22. Let us draft until we drop.